Leader of the Labour Party. Leader of the Opposition. Prime Minister. General elections. Jacinda Adern is a New Zealand politician who has been serving as the 40th Prime Minister of New Zealand and leader of the Labour Party since 2017. First elected to the House of Representatives as a list MP in 2008. She has been the Member of Parliament for Mount Albert since March 2017. Born in Hamilton, Adern grew up in Morrinsville and Murupara, where she attended a state school. After graduating from the University of Waikato in 2001, Adern began her career working as a researcher in the office of Prime Minister Helen Clark. She later worked in London, within the Cabinet Office, and was elected President of the International Union of Socialist Youth. Adern was first elected as an MP in the 2008 general election, when Labour lost power after 9 years. She was later elected to represent the Mount Albert electorate in a by-election in February 2017. Adern was unanimously elected as deputy leader of the Labour Party on 1 March 2017, following the resignation of Annette King. Just 5 months later, with an election due, Labour's leader Andrew Little resigned after a historically low opinion polling result for the party, with Adern elected unopposed as leader in his place. She led her party to gain 14 seats at the 2017 general election on 23 September, winning 46 seats to the National Party's 56. After a period of negotiations, New Zealand first chose to enter a minority coalition government with Labour, supported by the Green Party. With Adern as Prime Minister, she was sworn in by the Governor-General on 26 October 2017. She became the world's youngest female head of government at age 37. Adern later became the world's second elected head of government to give birth while in office, when her daughter was born on 21 June 2018. Adern describes herself as a social democrat and a progressive. The sixth Labour government has focused particularly on the New Zealand housing crisis, child poverty, and social inequality. In March 2019, she led the country through the aftermath of the Christchurch mosque shootings, rapidly introducing strict gun laws in response. And throughout 2020 she directed the country's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, which had been praised and endorsed worldwide. Adern led the Labour Party to a historic victory in the 2020 general election, gaining an outright majority of 65 seats in Parliament, the first time this has happened since the introduction of proportional representation in 1996. Born in Hamilton, New Zealand, Adern grew up as a Mormon in Morrinsville and Murupara, where her father, Ross Adern, worked as a police officer, and her mother, Laurel Adern, worked as a school catering assistant. She studied at Morrinsville College, where she was the student representative on the school's board of trustees. Whilst still at school she found her first job, working at a local fish and chip shop. She then attended the University of Waikato, graduating in 2001 with a Bachelor of Communication Studies in Politics and Public Relations. Adern was brought into politics by her aunt, Mary Adern, a long-standing member of the Labour Party, who recruited the teenaged Adern to help her with campaigning for New Plymouth MP Harry Duynhoven. During his re-election campaign at the 1999 general election, Adern joined the Labour Party at the age of 17, and became a senior figure in the young Labour sector of the party. After graduating from university, she spent time working in the offices of Phil Goff and of Helen Clark as a researcher. After a period of time in New York City, US, where she volunteered at a soup kitchen and worked on a workers' rights campaign, Adern moved to London, England, where she became a senior policy advisor in an 80-person policy unit of British Prime Minister Tony Blair. Adern was also seconded to the UK Home Office to help with a review of policing in England and Wales. In early 2008, Adern was elected president of the International Union of Socialist Youth, a role which saw her spend time in several countries, including Jordan, Israel, Algeria and China. Ahead of the 2008 election, Adern was ranked 20th on Labour's party list. This was a very high placement for someone who was not already a sitting MP. and virtually assured her of a seat in Parliament. Accordingly, Adern returned from London to campaign full-time. She also became Labour's candidate for the safe national electorate of Waikato. Adern was unsuccessful in the electorate vote, but her high placement on Labour's party list allowed her to enter Parliament as a list MP. Upon election, she became the youngest sitting MP in Parliament, succeeding fellow Labour MP Darren Hughes, and remained the youngest MP until the election of Gareth Hughes on the 11th of February 2010. Opposition leader Phil Goff promoted Adern to the front bench, naming her Labour spokesperson for youth affairs and as associate spokesperson.